Hi,
Hello, Walter.
how you doing?
Baruch Hashem. How was Yisrael?
Yeah, we were there. Baruch
You
Hashem,
there
thank you.
for the Yontif? It was nice.
Beautiful. Really beautiful.
Good.
Beautiful.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Okay, we're on Mem Amud Aleph.
Ernie.
Let me. Amar Mar. Ein li ela matan sheva shema akvos b'chol makom. The Brisa said that the 7 hazos that the Kohen Gadol does on Yom Kippur, on the Paroiches, if you miss any one of them, the whole thing gets ruined because because 7 everywhere, there's an ikuv if you miss something out. The Gemara wants to know, Heichel, where do we see that this is a rule? Amrav Papa, but para uvinagoim. In the process of para duma, where it says v'hizah el nochach pnei ol moed, it says chuka. So anytime it says chok to a din means it's got to be done. If you miss something, it's not good. And by mitzora it says v'hizah ben Hashem in be'etzba o sheva pabim, and it says zos tia Torah sa mitzora. Anytime it says tia, Rashi says it's an ikuv. Fine. Matan Torah, matan arba minai. What about, we said that in the Mizbech HaZav, the Mizbech HaKtoiris, in the Heichal, where also you have to put blood on the 4 corners. If you miss one of the corners, it's ma'akev. Talmud Lomer ken yaseh. Thus shall you do. So, Maishna Matan Sheva, Diksiva Nukfilan. So it's written, it says Vasei Kasher Asa. Matan Arba Nami Ksiva Nukfilan. It's written and repeated. So why would we think there would be a different din by the Matan Arba? Rav Yira lo nitzchel Rab Shimon. He holds that there wasn't written 4 giftings, only 2. 2 of them were learned from a Hekesh. So therefore we needed an extra riboy. The Tanya, where do we see this? Regarding sprinkling on the Mizbeach, the inside Mizbeach and the Heichal, by the Par Kohen Gadol. It says, Lamalo Omer Karen Kronos. You could have just said Karen, it said Kronos. So that's Shtayim. Lemata, by Par Elam Dover, Shul Tzibur, it also says Karen Kronos. So you have Arba Div Reb Shimon. So 2 of the Kronos are learned sort of as a drasha. It's not written, so it doesn't fulfill the principle of Ksiv and Ukfela. Rav Yudah Omer Ein Tzorich, because Areu Omer be'oel moed, the word of oil moed is not needed. It's extra. And that comes to teach me that Al Kol Omer be'oel moed, that you have to give blood on each one of the Kronos that are in the Ol Moed. So Rav Yehuda therefore doesn't need Ken Yaseh because he has oil Moed. So what does he do with Ken Yaseh? My avid le mebaylech le Tanya. Lefi shelo lamad lo par Yom Kippurim lusmicha. It doesn't say that the par that the Kohen Gadol brings on Yom Kippur he has to lean on, and it doesn't say anything v'shari adam, any remaining blood that has to be poured on the Yesod Mizbach HaOila, it doesn't write it by Par Yom Kippurim. So how do you know? Minay. Talmud Lomer Ken Yaseh. So Rav Yehuda doesn't use Ken Yaseh for the Arba Kronos in the Mizbech HaEichel, learns it for the Par Yom Kippur. Hi, Johnny. Johnny, we're on Mem. Mem Omid Aleph.
Okay, thanks.
Maybe 10 lines down. Ulapar Yom Kippur lo lamadnu? So what do you mean we don't have a learning for Yom Kippur? Amrit, we have those 2 parshas. Lapar ze Yom Kippurim. From Par Elam Dovar, we learn that all the actions of the Par Yom Kippurim has to follow the Par Elam Dovar. Still says the Gemara Yitzchak, we need it to be taught again. Only avodah de ma'akva kapara. Perhaps the ikuvim only take place on things that are required for kapara, like for example, up until Zrika Saddam. Aval avodah de lo ma'akva, like smicha, or like pouring the blood on the yesod. That lo ma'akva kapara, maybe lo, maybe they would not be kamash malan, that you have to do those as well on Yom Kippur. I've Reb Shimon High Boil Moed. This drasha Boil Moed my avidle. What is he? He doesn't need the drasha Boil Moed because he learns it up from Karen Kronos. So the answer is Boil Moed Meboile Shim Nifchas Tikra Shalecha Lo Yamazeh. That if the ceiling of the Heichal had broken, you didn't do the hazos. You need it to be done in all moed. Without a sealing, it's not called oil moed. What is Rabbi Yehuda doesn't need that? Or where does he learn that din that if your sealing is gone? Because it says asher ba'oel moed. We don't need asher. What does Rabbi Shimon do with asher? Asher loy darish. He doesn't dash in the word asher. Amar Abaya. The Rav Yehuda nami itztrich. I can prove to you, says Abaya, that Rav Yehuda also needs the ken yaseh, that the 4 gifts of blood on the 4 corners of the Mizbech Hazav inside, you've got to give all 4. So, doing smicha on the animal, or pouring the remaining blood on the yesod outside, even though it's written and repeated, it's not ma'akev. So I might have said as well, matan arba ames lo sa'akev. Because we know already, both Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel hold that on the outside mizbeach, the chatas, either you only get away with 1 according to Beis Hillel, or 2 with Beis Shammai. You don't need all 4. So I might have had a havamina that you don't have to apply the blood on all 4 corners of the mizbeach haktoras. Kamashman Kenya said that without the 4, it's ma'akev. Then the Baraisa taught us lepar zeh par Yom Kippur. Lamai hilchasa, for what halacha? Ila akev, to tell us that if you miss one of these avodot, it's not good. Well, pshita chuka ksiv bei. It says vaisazos lachem lechuka soilam. Anytime you say chuka, it's lakev. You needed par for another limud. El Rav Yehuda Shomar ki ksiv chuka. That's varmanasim v'gdei lovim b'fnim. If you remember on Yom Kippur, the Kohen Gadol changed his garments 5 times, from Bigdei Lavan to Bigdei Zahav. So the primary stuff that was done was with the Bigdei Lavan, where you went into the Kodesh Kadoshim. So I might have thought only the avodas done in the Bigdei Lavan inside, there, if you change the order or you miss something, it's bad. But the big day loving actions that you did not in the Kodesh Kadoshim, for example, sprinkling on the parochas, on the Mizbech Hazav, maybe higdi ma'aseh chaver masha asosui, maybe it's not ma'akev, and maybe ema mekasidron lo ma'akvi. Just like if you mix the order, it's not a problem. Hazos nami lo ma'akvi. Even if you miss some of the hazos, it's not a problem. Kamash balon, that the pasuk of lepar ken yaseh, just like the param davar shul tzibur, you've got to do everything. Same thing with the par of Yom Kippur. Maskiv of Papa umi matzis armasachi. Can you actually say this? That this is where Rabbi Yehuda learned that the hazos are ma'akvos vatanya. It says v'chilat mi kaperes hakodesh. When the Kohen Gadol finishes the giving the zrika in the kodesh, which is part of the Yom Kippur, we don't need that. So im Kippur, if he's already finished all the hazos, so kila, it's done. Even if he didn't pour the remaining blood, v'im lo kippur lo kila. And if you didn't finish, you didn't finish. Why didn't you say like this? Im kila, including the hazos shebehechol, and including the shvichas shari adam on the mizbech outside kippur. Im lo kila lo kippur. So Rabbi Yehuda learned it from here that you got to do everything, not from the drasha we just brought. The pasuk of lepar to teach me par Yom Kippurim is ella. V'toval hakohen es etzba'o badam. The Kohen shall dip his finger in blood. This is by the par that if the Kohen Gadol made a mistake in Hayrah. So es, dam, and tefillah. What's this? Es on Rav Acha bar Yaakov lo nitzcha el lahachshir imin shebe'etzba. that if you have some kind of cyst or some kind of growth on your finger, that it does not serve as a chatzitza. And bedam, shi'e bedam shi'er tefillah mikar. How much blood you have to put in the kli? Enough to dip your finger in. And the tovel kohen is atzbo badam, v'lo maspeg. You shouldn't wipe it on the wall of the kli. V'yitzrich lemichtav bedam, because Rachmana only tovel havamin afagav deleka shir tefillah mikara. Maybe even there isn't enough blood in there. Always we're adding more. Because Rachmana bedam, the amount of dam in the kli has to be enough to do all the hazois. Because Rachmana bedam avamina, even if you start with the right shear, at the end you don't have enough. You don't need for tefillah. Elafilo maspek. So even you could wipe your finger because Rachmana v'tovel. You need it in the end extra blood so you could dip it completely. It says over there, "V'nosana koim adam al mizbach k'toris hasomim." Right, the k'toris made out of spices. Lamali, what do we need k'toris hasomim? Just say lifnei Hashem or on the mizbeach. Shem loy nischanech hamizbeach k'toris hasomim lo hayamaz alav. The mizbeach that you're going to sprinkle blood on has to be a mizbeach that previously had k'toris offered on it. If there was never k'toris on it, you can't do the hazos of the blood. And Tanya Kavosid Rav Papa, that the Par Helam Dover Tzibur Parsha gives us remozim about the Par Yom Kippurim regarding this Es Bedam Utfila. It says Vasala Par, Kasher Asala Par. Do for the Par Yom Kippur the way you do the Par Helam Dover. The Rabbos Par Yom Kippurim l'chol ma shomer b'inyan, to include the various avodot for the Par Yom Kippurim that you do for the Par Kohen Mashiach. What is that? Es b'dam utfila divrei Rebbe. Or Rav Yishmael. We don't need that special drasha. Kal v'chomer. Uma b'malkom shelo hushva korban l'korban. For example, there are types of korbanos by the Helam Dover. Sometimes it's a par, sometimes it's a sawyer. Yet, hishva masim lamasim, all the actions that you do to the par, you do to the sawyer. Malkum shehishva korban lekorban. But the par kohen Mashiach and the par Yom Kippur, they're both paros. Kal v'chomer eino din shehishva ma'isa lamaisa. We would know misvara like kal v'chomer that all the actions done by the Parlam Dover Shtil Tzibur you do by the Par Yom Kippur. We don't need the special pasuk lepar. Ella, we need a different drasha. Ma tamad lomer, it says vasal par kasher asa ze Parlam Dover Shtil Tzibur kasher asa lapar ze par kohen Mashiach. So the two korbanos we're comparing is when the Sanhedrin makes a mistake and they paskin on something where normally you get kares or you have to bring a chatas if you did a b'shogeg, and it turns out that they were in error. So rather than each individual Jew bringing the chatas, the Sanhedrin brings the Parlam Dover. Same thing for the Par Kohen Mashiach. If the Kohen Gadol paskins for himself and he's wrong, he has to bring a Par Kohen Mashiach. So Vasala Par ze Parlam Dover Shel Tzibur. Kasher Asala Par, that's Par Kohen Mashiach. Amar Uma b'malkum shelo hushva korban lekorban. Now, my lo hushva korban lekorban. What we were comparing here, what korbanos that are not the same species? Ilema par Yom Kippurim v'sa'ir Yom Kippurim. So, for example, on Yom Kippur, the Kohen Gadol brought the par. That was for him and his family, Kohanim. And the sa'ir, there were two goats. One was sent Lazazel, the other was shechted and offered for Klal Yisrael's sins. Obviously, those are two different animals. One's a par, one's a goat. So that's the two korbanos shelo hishva kasuv, they're not the same species yet. Their maisim are the same. So then certainly the par Yom Kippurim and par Korban Mashiach would be the same. However, you could break the Kal V'chomer. Ikle Mifrach. Malahanach. You know what the par in the Sor of Yom Kippur? Shekei nichnas damam lifnai v'lifnim. What happens to their blood happens to no other korbanos in the world. You bring their blood into the Kodesh Kadoshim. You don't do that for the par Lam Davar Shel Tzibur. Ella par Lam Davar Shel Tzibur u'seiri avodah zarah. So when the Sanhedrin made a mistake regarding any other avera, like eating dam or eating chaylev, they brought a par helam davar. Now, if Sanhedrin made a mistake regarding avodah zarah, there you brought a sa'ir, seirei avodah zarah. They're also not the same min. And maybe we'll say that's the example, shloi hushva korbanos, and yet the ma'asim are the same. Kal v'chomer, the two paros. However, that also can be broken misvar. Ikele mifrach malahanach. Sheken mechaprin al averis mitzvah yedua. The parlam davar shel tzibur and the sa'ir avodah zarah, we know what that avera is. Now, par Yom Kippurim, those are not specific averas that we know what they were. It comes to atone for Kohanim and the Kohen Gadol if he did any averas that he doesn't know. So we have to go back a third time. Ella parlam davar shel tzibur v'sorah shel Yom Kippurim. The two korbanos that are different in species is the par that the Sanhedrin brings parlam davar shel tzibur, and the sa'ir that the Kohen Gadol brings on Yom Kippur for kapor for Klal Yisrael. V'hachi kamar. Uma b'makom shlo yishvu korban l'korban. These korbanos are not the same. The high par, the high sa'ir, one is a part, one's a sa'ir, yet hushvu maisim l'maisim l'man dekasibu. They do that which is written about them. We do exactly the same thing. Now, the only thing that the parlam davar shel tzibur is different is it's not, the blood is not brought into the Kodesh Kadoshim, the sa'ir is. But the avodot done in the Heichal are similar. You sprinkle on the paroiches, you sprinkle on Mizbeach Hazav. So therefore, the end of the Kal V'chomer, Mokum Shehushva Korban LaKorban. The parlam davar and the par Yom Kippurim, certainly you would do the same actions without, otherwise it would be ma'akev. The high par, the high par. Each is a par. Eino din shushvu ma'asim ma'asim. That's the end of the Kal V'chomer. So the Kal V'chomer would teach it to me without the posuk. Okay. Tomorrow, 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock tomorrow. Oh, Shabbos, we're going to learn at night, like we did last week, because it's too early in shul. So we learned Daf Yomi at 8 o'clock. Motzei Shabbos, like we did last week. And that's the schedule for the next 2 days.
Very good.
Okay.
Okay. Good night.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yashar Koyach.
Thank you.
Shabbat shalom.